So I want to introduce the concept of two-dimensional arrays in C#. What we've looked at so far is a standard one-dimensional array, and by default an array in C# is considered one dimension. However, what if we want to simulate maybe a chessboard, for example, where we have kind of 8 squares going across, but 8 squares also going up? Then we can kind of refer to those squares in the chess set, kind of like a grid system with X going across and Y going up. And we can kind of simulate this using what's called a two-dimensional array in C#. So let's look at this example here. We've just defined some numbers here, and we're storing them into an integer array called num. And we're just outputting the first number in our array to the screen. So if I run the application, the first number in the array is 1, which is correct because this is the first number. So I'm going to show you an example of a two-dimensional array. Now this is our one-dimensional array. I'm just going to remove some numbers so the example isn't too kind of long-winded. So in order to turn this one-dimensional array here into a two-dimensional array, I use a comma inside these square brackets here. Now that is telling C#, hey, I want to create a two-dimensional array. So right now, this is kind of how we visualize our array. So it looks something like that. But what I want to do is create a 2D array, which is going to look like this. So because the nature of 2 dimensions, you have one dimension going across and one going down, and then it fills out into like some graph paper, a chessboard, something like that. So this is kind of what we want to emulate here. So now I've put in commas here. We immediately get a red line because C# knows we're creating a 2D array, but this format is incorrect. So the format for a 2D array looks like this. So the outer curly braces here is the container for everything. Then inside each set of curly braces is each line here. So if I copy this and put that in there, copy that, put that in there, and copy that and put that in there. Now this initialization here of the 2D array pretty much looks like that. So this is kind of like the same as that. That's how you should kind of visualize this. And now how do we actually access these numbers? Again, this format is wrong. If we hover over it, we can see here, wrong number of indices. That's because it's now expecting 2, because we've created a 2D array here. So what we can use is just the comma system. So for example, 0, 0. Now that will actually output the first number in the first block. So here's the first block, here's the second block, here's the third block. Again, all indexes start at 0, so this is the first one, represented by the first number here, 0. And the second number here, this is the number of the item inside the first block, which is the first one there, which would be 1. So this should output number 1 right here. So if we run the application, there, number 1. If we change the second digit, for example 2, then 0, 1, 2, it should output number 3. As you can see there. If we increase this to 2, then it should output here, because it's 2 across and 2 down. So we should get number 9. There we go. So that is how to access information from a 2D array in C#. Now you may be asking the question, well, what about 3D arrays? Well, what about 4D arrays? Well, consider this. 2 commas. Now this example is going to get way too crazy, so let's kind of minimize it down. So now this will look like this. So how about a 3D array? Whoa, yeah, very simple. So let's take each one of these and replace each number with an extra set. And now if we hover over here, wrong number of indices, expected 3. So let's enter a third one. Now you can see the coordinate system is in 3 dimensions. So if I run the program now, the first number in the array is 1, which it is. This is the very first item. So you can see this is kind of the concept of 2D arrays, 3D arrays, and it can go on from there. And you may ask the question, well, how many dimensions can we go to? Well, the answer, 32, if you're ever wondering. So we can have up to 32 dimensions in an array in C#.